Zara Asare was the kind of woman who turned heads the moment she walked into a room. Her presence was quiet but commanding, the graceful sway of her heels, the tailored suits that whispered elegance, and eyes that had seen more than they cared to explain. At just 28, she had climbed faster than most in Ghana's financial industry. From a humble beginning in Osu, she now lived in a high-rise apartment in Airport Residential, worked as a senior strategist in one of the country's top investment firms, and drove a Lexus SUV that made traffic pause. But beneath the glow of success, Zara carried a secret wound. 3 wounds, in fact. Each one carved by a man she once believed in. The first boyfriend, the investor. He came in like a dream, tall, soft-spoken, with a vision that stretched from Adenta to Silicon Valley. They met at a business conference in ThEY, where he pitched tech ideas that sounded like the future. Zara was captivated, not just by his mind, but his charm. He said all the right things, listened like a man in love. 3 months into dating, he told her he had a plan. He said, smoothly, "Zara, I just need 80,000 Ghana cedis to push this deal through." Persuasive. "Once I seal this contract, we're set for life." She didn't even hesitate. She wired the money with a heart full of love and a mind full of dreams. 2 weeks later, his phone line was off. His apartment, empty. The email he always used, deleted. She went to the police, filed a report, but deep inside she already knew he was never coming back. The second betrayal, the business trip heartbreak. After the financial scam, she told herself she'd never mix money and love again. So when the next man came, she kept things simple. He was a photographer, artsy, grounded, the kind of man who brought flowers for no reason and cooked jollof in her kitchen like it was a love language. He met her friends, even danced with her mother at a family party. Everything felt real until she traveled to Cape Town for a company conference. 3 nights away. On the second night, her roommate said, hesitantly, "Zara," concerned, "there's something you should see on Instagram." It was a video. Her boyfriend, the one she trusted, in her living room, kissing her closest friend. Same couch they used to cuddle on, same wine glass he once poured for her. Zara couldn't breathe. She nearly collapsed in the hotel corridor. After a year of healing, she met someone new at church. This one was different, or so she thought. A youth pastor, well-spoken, polite. He prayed with her, bought her books on faith and marriage, told her, "Sincere, you are the wife I prayed for." 6 months later, he proposed at Labadee Beach under a glowing sunset. She wept tears of joy. Finally, someone who saw her heart. 2 days later, he said he needed to travel to Kumasi for an urgent family issue. He never returned. She waited, called, texted, prayed, until her sister sent her a Facebook post from a mutual friend, announcing, "Congratulations to Kwame and Akua on your beautiful wedding in Sunyani." There he was, in a white agbada, smiling with another woman. Her engagement ring, gone. Her peace of mind, shattered. That was the last straw. Zara didn't cry this time. She didn't scream or beg. She just walked to the bathroom mirror, wiped her face clean, and whispered, whisper, firm, determined, "No more. I am done. No more heartbreak. No more lies. No more men." From that day forward, she built a wall around her heart. And no one, not even God it seemed, could break through. Long before Uche Owusu wore designer suits and intimidated judges with his legal fire, he was just a small boy, sitting on the steps of a house that never felt like home again. He was only 7 when his mother left. Not died, left. The day she walked out. It was a Sunday afternoon in Kumasi. The air smelled of palm soup and burning charcoal. Uche had just finished plaiting his mother's hair with childish care while she laughed and let him. She wore her favorite blue and yellow kente skirt that day. "I'm going to the junction. I'll be back before supper," she said. She smiled, kissed his forehead, closed the door. She never returned. The truth that burned. Days passed. Uche sat by the front window, his legs swinging as he stared into the dusk. He asked everyone, softly pleading, "Have you seen my mummy?" No one had. Until one night, He overheard his father's voice, cracking through the wall. Voice cracking, angry. She's gone. She left with him, that man from church, that fake elder from Takarati. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't fate. She abandoned them, on purpose. The man his father became. From that day, Uche's father began to rot on the inside. He was once a strong man, well known in town for his sweet voice in the choir and the way he danced at weddings. But after her betrayal, he became a ghost. He stopped singing, stopped shaving, stopped living. The drinking started slow. A bottle of akpateshi to numb the silence. A shot of dry gin just to fall asleep. Then it became breakfast, then lunch, then survival. The final day. Uche was just 12 the night it happened. He came back from school to find the front door wide open. His father lay on the floor, cold, still, and smelling of alcohol and vomit. An empty bottle rolled beside his stiff hand. The ambulance came too late. The doctor's words were harsh, gravely, massive liver damage. He was too far gone. Uche didn't cry at the funeral. He didn't scream. He just stood beside the coffin and whispered, "She killed you." Not with a weapon, but with her absence, her selfishness, her betrayal. The boy who became stone. After that, Uche was raised by his bitter uncle in Tema, a man who taught him that love makes men weak and trust is for fools. He grew quiet, cold. He focused on books, became top of his class, studied law to protect himself, and to never be powerless again. The one woman he tried to trust. At 25, while working with a legal firm in Accra, Uche met Linda, a paralegal, graceful, church-going. She reminded him of the mother he wished he had. Against every instinct, he let her in, introduced her to his private world, took her to his father's grave, gave her a ring after 2 years. Then, 3 weeks before the wedding, he found her in their apartment, in his bed, with his best man. The betrayal wasn't just romantic. It was ancestral. After that, Uche stopped trying. He didn't date, didn't believe in love, didn't trust a single smile. Every woman in his eyes was either a liar, a user, or a threat. To the outside world, he was brilliant, but to himself, he was guarded, bitter, and quietly broken. And when he met Zara for the first time at a company retreat, a woman too confident, too proud, too sure of herself, he didn't see her as a person. He saw her as a warning, another storm wrapped in perfume. The royal Senshi sat like a jewel by the Volta River, with swaying palm trees, golden light bouncing off the water, and carefully curated peace. The kind that only lasts until two wounded souls cross paths. Zara didn't want to be there. Corporate retreats were a waste of time in her eyes. Icebreakers, staged laughter, and forced networking. But as senior strategist, her boss insisted she attend, to represent the firm. So she showed up in her signature silk blouse, wide-legged cream trousers, heels that clicked like punctuation marks, and a "don't play with me" red lip. Her makeup was subtle, her presence loud. Across the room, a man who was already watching. Uche, Owusu, had arrived the night before. He hated these things even more than Zara did, especially when they involved team-building games and fake humility. He stood near the drinks table in his fitted ash-gray kaftan, arms crossed, glass untouched. His sharp jaw was clenched, his mind scanning the room with practiced boredom, until his eyes locked on her. She was magnetic, not just beautiful, commanding. But in his mind, that made her dangerous. He whispered under his breath, "Another woman who thinks confidence is a currency." Their first meeting wasn't planned, but it might as well have been fate stirring the pot. During a roundtable discussion about business ethics and gender roles in leadership, a heated debate sparked. Uche had spoken first, sharply, bluntly. "Sometimes I think we force diversity for optics, not because people earn their place." Zara turned slowly, eyes narrowed, disbelieving. "Excuse me?" Challenging. "Are you suggesting women in leadership didn't earn it?" He didn't flinch, coldly. "I'm saying some climb ladders built on pity or charm." A quiet gasp spread across the room. Zara smiled, not sweetly, dangerously. She leaned forward, cuttingly. "No wonder you're still single. You think strength in a woman is a threat?" Uche chuckled coldly. No, I just don't confuse attitude for achievement. Silence after the storm. The session ended with applause, but not for them. For the fire, the spark, the unspoken electricity that had filled the room. They didn't speak again that evening, but they noticed each other. In the buffet line, he saw how she avoided eye contact but still stood tall. At the riverside, she noticed how he laughed with no one and kept his back against walls. Zara told herself he was arrogant, bitter, insecure. Uche told himself she was loud, entitled, dangerous. But something in both of them felt disturbed, moved, like two broken mirrors seeing a version of themselves in the other. Nightfall. That night, alone in their separate rooms, neither could sleep. Zara replayed his words, and why they stung. Uche replayed her voice, and why it lingered. Sometimes it isn't love at first sight, it's recognition. Two damaged hearts smelling fire in each other, and mistaking it for danger. Zara tried to avoid him. From the moment she left that conference room, she told herself he wasn't worth her breath. Let the man stew in his bitterness, she thought. Men like that deserve their own silence. But fate and corporate schedules had other plans. Day 2. The retreat organizers had planned a relax and reconnect group boat ride across the Volta River. Zara arrived late, her phone buzzing with leftover work emails. By the time she stepped on board, the only seat left was beside him, Uche. She paused. He looked up, calmly, tapped the empty spot. Calm. Don't worry, I don't bite. Zara sat stiff. Defensively. Good, I don't bark. They rowed in silence. The water glittered like temptation, but their hearts sat like anchors. At one point, the boat rocked sharply and she instinctively reached for balance, her hand brushing his arm. She pulled back like she touched fire. He didn't say a word, but he felt the spark too. At the paired exercise. Later that afternoon was a leadership task. Pair up with someone you know the least. Of course, the facilitator smiled and said, cheerfully, Mr. Owusu, Miss Asar, you two make a fine team. Zara rolled her eyes. Uche's smirk returned, sarcastic. Our nightmare continues. Their task? Design a mock business pitch together. They argued about everything, the name, the product, even the slogan. You don't listen, she snapped. You don't think, he replied. But as the exercise dragged on, something strange happened. She saw how organized his mind was. He saw how fiercely she defended her ideas. At the end, when they presented together, their pitch won. Applause echoed around them. They didn't smile, but something in their eyes had softened. Just a bit. That night, rain poured unexpectedly. The resort lights flickered, and the dinner buffet was moved indoors. Zara, exhausted, left early, only to find herself stuck under the resort's side canopy, waiting out the storm. Then came Uche, soaked, annoyed, holding a glass of dry wine like it might save him from conversation. They stood in silence for a full minute, then she broke it. Let me guess, you hate the rain too. He chuckled. The first real one she'd heard. No, I just don't like surprises. She looked at him for a moment, truly looked. No one who trusts people hates surprises. He turned to her, something sharp behind his voice. That's why I don't trust anyone. There it was again, the wound beneath the armor. She nodded slowly. Yeah, me neither. Later that night, Zara lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, thinking about his voice, the way it dropped when he said, I don't trust anyone. And Uche? He sat in his room, wondering why the sound of her footsteps walking away from that canopy felt louder than the rain. Sometimes the universe doesn't shove people into each other. It lets them bump shoulders over and over again, until they finally stop pretending not to feel it. The retreat was almost over. Zara had counted down every hour. She was ready to return to Accra, to her real world, one of schedules, strategy, and silence. No more team building, no more fake smiles, and definitely no more accidental run-ins with Uche Owusu. But life as usual had other ideas. The final dinner. The retreat organizers planned a farewell dinner under the stars. Candlelight shimmered on white tablecloths. A live band played soft highlife in the background. Everyone was relaxed, laughing over cocktails and roasted tilapia. Everyone, except Zara and Uche. Zara had come late again, hoping to quietly sit in a corner. But when she approached her assigned table, she saw the name card next to hers, Uche Owusu. She almost turned back, but pride made her sit. The silent dinner. They didn't speak much at first, just exchanged occasional, awkward glances between bites. Then the host asked every table to share a personal story, something no one knew about them. Zara froze. She hated this type of spotlight. She tried to skip, but the host insisted. And before she could stop herself, the words tumbled out. Zara's story. 3 years ago, clears throat, she began, eyes on her glass. I gave everything to a man who promised me forever. The table went quiet. I gave him money to start a business. He ran off with it, blocked me, moved to London, a pause. The one before that slept with my best friend. And the last one? Proposed, then married another woman 2 days later. I saw it on Facebook. Her voice didn't crack. Her face stayed calm, but her hand clenched around the wine stem. So no, I don't do love. I do logic. I do safety. She didn't look at Uche, but she could feel his silence tighten. Uche's confession. A minute passed, then 2. And then Uche spoke, not to the group, just to her. His voice was low, not arrogant, not sharp, just tired, saddened. My mother left me when I was 7. Zara blinked, somberly, said she was coming back. She never did. Left my dad for a rich man in Takoradi. My father drank himself to death 5 years later. He looked at her for the first time without armor. Quietly, I've hated women ever since. Not out loud, just inside, quietly, until it grew into everything I am. The table was silent. Even the band seemed to soften their chords. And for the first time, Zara didn't see a cocky man. She saw a broken boy, hiding behind tailored caftans and courtroom fire. After the dinner, everyone returned to their rooms. But Uche and Zara remained behind, sitting on a bench near the riverbank, the moon reflecting off the water like truth in glass. They didn't talk much more, but they didn't need to. For once, silence between them didn't feel like war. It felt like peace. Thoughtfully, sometimes it's not love that heals first, it's honesty. When two wounded people stop performing and finally say, "This is who I am," scars and all. The Royal Senchi retreat was over. The suits were back on. The traffic jams, the meetings, the headlines, all back in place. But for Uche and Zara, something refused to reset. They went back to work, back to silence, back to pretending. But the memory of that night by the river, that soft, trembling honesty, lingered like perfume on their skin. The text that opened the door. It took Uche 5 days to message her. He typed, deleted, paste, then finally sent. Uche, annoyed. Next time you talk about heartbreak in front of strangers, cuckolds. Warn a man first. 2 hours later, her reply came. Zara, cuckolds. Next time you confess your mother ruined you, don't do it during dessert. Uche let out a laugh, a real one, full and deep. For the first time in years, he felt lighter. He stared at the screen. Then he picked up his phone and dialed his driver. The next morning, a package arrived at Zara's office. Wrapped in dark blue ribbon was a hardback leather journal with her initials in gold embossing, ZA. Inside was a note. You said you no longer believe in love, but if you ever change your mind, maybe start writing the new story here. Zara held the journal against her chest for a long time. Then she sent just one message. Zara. Okay. Thoughtful. I'm listening. The first real date. He picked her up that Friday. Not in a flashy car, no loud restaurant, just a private table at a quiet garden restaurant in East Legon. Strings of lights above, jazz in the background, the smell of grilled tilapia in the air. They talked for hours. No pretense. No sparring. Just two people finding rhythm in the ruins. He told her he hadn't dated in 6 years. She admitted she still didn't trust easily. But somehow that night, trust began to take root. The weeks that followed. One dinner turned into 2. Then weekend walks at Legon Botanical Gardens. Then quiet nights watching documentaries and arguing about endings. He'd cook. She'd laugh. He'd listen. She'd soften. No games. No fear. Just slow healing. The surprise proposal. 3 months later, Zara was invited to speak at a gala for women in finance. She arrived dressed in emerald green, proud and stunning. Halfway through her speech, the moderator interrupted with a mysterious announcement. The lights dimmed. A video played on the screen. Photos of Zara over the years. Her childhood, her growth, her battles, her victories. The final slide. Will you let love write the next chapter? When she turned around, Uche was on one knee in front of the entire hall. Moment. I swore I'd never love again, but then I met the woman who didn't need saving. She just needed to be seen. The crowd gasped. Zara's hand trembled over her mouth. Then she whispered the two words that broke every wall she had ever built. I do. 1 month later, the wedding. They married in a small but elegant ceremony by the sea in Ada. No fanfare, no social media parade, just close friends, candlelight, laughter, and peace. As they danced their first dance under the stars, Uche whispered into her ear, "Thank you for not walking away that night." Zara smiled. "Thank you for finally showing up." They were two hearts wrapped in armor. She vowed never to love again. He swore never to trust. But love has its own language. And when it's real, it doesn't ask. It just stays.
Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.